Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, leaders from the Kenyan county of Lamu hold emergency meetings following a spate of fatal attacks. Several more homes are torched on Tuesday and another raid on terrified communities. Also, the Swedish and Norwegian ambassadors visit hospitals in Khartoum after Sudanese security forces are accused of attacking medical facilities during recent fatal protests against the military. And the Supereagles get ready to soar with a 1-0 win over Egypt in the hotly anticipated showdown, the Africa Cup of Nations. We hear from our correspondent in Cameroon. But first, armed raiders have continued to terrorize communities in Kenya's coastal region of Lamu County. On Tuesday, several homes were torched just over a week after several people were killed in a series of attacks there. Violence has escalated in Lamu County over the last few weeks, and a dusk to dawn curfew has been brought in. Caroline Kimeo, our correspondent in the country, has more.
Several houses were torched down on Tuesday morning in Kenya's coastal Lamu County. The incident was part of a broader series of attacks that have happened in the area since the start of the year. During the attacks, we've seen 14 people have been killed so far, including police and civilians. Houses have been burned down, property looted, and some villagers have had to escape their village for their safety. Now, the government imposed a dusk to dawn curfew in the area that's meant to stretch on until February 5th as investigations are carried out. The identity of the assailants is unknown, but authorities suspect the Al-Shabaab militia and are combing through the nearby Boni forest where the militia is known to hide. Residents, however, say that the attacks may well be prompted by land or political issues. In the most recent attack, 2 people were killed as they tried to flee when the assailants opened gunfire on their village. Just 2 days before, on January 7th, 4 policemen were killed after the attackers blowed up their vehicle using an explosive device. And residents in the Kibaoni area carried out protests to decry the lack of security in the area and call for additional government action. The Kenya Defense Forces have partnered with the General Police and the Border Control Unit to investigate and bring the situation under control. Meanwhile, Lamu leaders met to discuss the security situation and appeal for residents to remain calm as investigations continue.
Caroline Kimeo there for us. Now, the man suspected of starting the fire that gutted South Africa's parliament earlier this month has been charged with terrorism. Prosecutors have been given a month to establish whether Zandile Christmas Mafe is fit for trial, as he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Nadine Theron has more.
Zandile Mafe appeared cleanly shaven at his second court appearance since his arrest. On Tuesday, he was represented by the Economic Freedom Fighters National Chairperson, Advocate Dali Mpofu. The court heard that Mafe had been preliminarily diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Free Zandile Mani, free!
Outside the court, protesters from the Black Consciousness movement, as well as the homeless community, protested in favor of his freedom. Venetia Orgel, who has been feeding the homeless for around 10 years, says she knows him well.
His brain is challenged to be able to think like that he can go into a high security place, break in and go and set fire to a place. No, definitely not Zandile.
The restoration of the parliamentary buildings is estimated to cost over R1 billion and will take around 5 years to complete. The Economic Freedom Fighters has called again for this opportunity for Parliament to move to Tshwane, the country's capital city.
The head of Nigeria's ruling APC party, who's also the former mayor of Lagos, will be running for the presidency in 2023. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the highest profile candidate so far to throw his hat into the ring. Samuel Okoya with more.
Even though Nigeria's presidential election is scheduled for next year, Bola Tinubu has set the stage for an early race when he declared his intention to contest. Tinubu, a former senator and 2-time governor of Lagos State, is one of Nigeria's most influential politicians, is leader of the ruling party and one of the kingmakers of Nigerian politics. The kingmakers, or godfathers, as some people call them, are most times powerful enough to determine who wins an election. Tinubu was instrumental to the bulk votes that enabled President Muhammadu Buhari win the party primaries before he eventually won the presidential election in 2015. Now Tinubu will be counting on President Buhari's support to also become president. In a country where money sometimes determines the outcome of elections, Tinubu, a very rich man with lots of business interests, will find his wealth handy in his quest to become president. Tinubu is entering the presidential race at a crucial time in Nigeria's political history. Nigeria has become highly polarized on religious, ethnic, and regional lines. President Muhammadu Buhari, a Muslim from the north, has been accused of playing ethnic and religious politics, which has caused a lot of anger, especially in the predominantly Christian South. To increase his chances of becoming president, Tinubu, a Muslim from the South, will have to prove he can bring the country together if voted for.
Samuel Okoye there for us. Now, the UN's hoping to negotiate with all sides in the crisis triggered in Sudan by a military coup last October. Since then, dozens of protesters calling for civilian rule have been killed in a crackdown. The UN said it will only be facilitating consultations and not proposing specific solutions. For now, though, it is the only substantial effort to resolve the standoff. But first, the junta and the pro-democracy movement need to agree to talks. Camille Nedlek tells us more.
To try to resolve Sudan's ongoing crisis, the UN hopes to broker talks between the two sides. The Sudanese authorities and the pro-democracy movement have been at loggerheads since the military coup in October. The junta has not refused negotiations, but has yet to accept, while some pro-democracy organizations have already said they won't take part.
لجان المقاومة اللي قالت ولكن هذا ليس شيء جديد احنا نرفض أن نقعد مع العسكر دولة واحدة ولكن احنا ما ندعو لأن يقعدوا مع العسكر ندعوهم أن يقعدوا معنا.
This comes against a backdrop of ongoing pro-democracy demonstrations that have been met with violence, including the use of live rounds against protesters and reports of over a dozen rapes allegedly perpetrated by security forces at a protest march last month. On the 30th of December, tens of thousands of people took to the streets and the Khartoum teaching hospital was attacked by security forces. The ambassadors of Sweden and Norway visited the hospital on Monday to show their support.
مرضى منومين في السراير اللي انتم شايفينها والدكاتره قاعدين وبيتم الهجوم علينا بالبومبان يطلقوا الغاز داخل وذاك اثر هناك اثر بتاع واحده من الطلقات بتاعت الغاز على المرضى وعلى الدكاتره وعلى هنا يعني وعلى العاملين شيء طبعا لا اخلاقي ولا انساني ولا مقبول غير مقبول اطلاقا انك اصلا المستشفيات دي لها حرمات.
According to the Central Committee of Sudanese Doctors, which supports the protesters, dozens have been killed in the demonstrations since the coup.
Well, Nigeria is off to a winning start to its Africa Cup of Nations campaign. The Supereagles faced off against Egypt in a hotly anticipated game and overcame the Pharaohs 1-0. Elated Nigerian football fans think the best is yet to come.
Everybody's super excited with the game. Personally, I asked myself a question, who is going to hold Mo Salah today? And then, indeed, the boys did a great job.
To tell you the truth, they performed beyond expectation, knowing that they just had a change of coach.
I'm expecting the cup home, even with these first 3 points. So I want the players and the coach to do more. We have the names. There is no country in the AFCON competition currently that has the kind of calibers of player we have.
High hopes there. Well, Simon Harding is covering the tournament for us in Cameroon. He joins us now. Simon, talk us through the highlights of Wednesday's games.
Well, the Nigeria victory over the Pharaohs, certainly the high point of the day, with Kelechi Iheanacho's goal in the 30th minute sinking Egypt. And as we heard the Nigerian fans there saying, plenty to be optimistic about because the Super Eagles have certainly put in the best performance at this Africa Cup of Nations so far. They were incredibly good with the ball, incredibly tough in midfield defensively, and restricted Egypt to very little during the game. game. And all of this bearing in mind that they didn't have their star striker Victor Osimhen available for this tournament. So certainly plenty to be optimistic about for Nigeria. For Egypt and the Pharaohs, well, they boast possibly the best player in the world at the moment in Mohamed Salah, but they're going to have to find a way to be able to play without everything going through the Liverpool forward. He did have one big opportunity with 20 minutes to go, but his effort was a little bit too tame and didn't beat the Nigerian goalkeeper, who got a good save on that occasion. But certainly Nigeria, who take the lead in the group, who've put down a marker to all their potential adversaries coming up in the tournament, and it is already going to be a crucial match for Egypt when they take on Guinea-Bissau in just a couple of days. Well, talking of Guinea-Bissau, they drew 0-0 with Sudan, a match with very few opportunities. Even though Guinea-Bissau did dominate, they pushed very hard at the end of that game, and the Sudan goalkeeper even saved a penalty man of the match performance for him, so honours shared in that one. And the other big surprise of the day was, of course, the defending champions Algeria, who drew with Sierra Leone, the African minnows, who put in a really stubborn performance to restrict the Fennecs to little. Yes, Algeria missed a lot of opportunities, but it is certainly a wake-up call for them, and they're going to have to play much, much better if they want to add to their title that they won 2 years ago in Egypt.
Thanks very much. Simon Harding there talking us through a big day at the Africa Cup of Nations. He'll be following the tournament for us for the duration. That is, though, all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.
Io vivo sotto scorta del 1986 e negli ultimi anni il rischio è aumentato.
Public prosecutor Nicola Gratteri is one of Italy's most threatened citizens. He represents the government in its massive case against the 'Ndrangheta, Italy's most powerful mafia.
Ho più o meno 5 minuti, ok? Prima che possa succedere qualcosa.
Its modus operandi, cocaine trafficking, shakedowns and bloodbaths. Getting confessions from this criminal organisation is no easy task. Our investigation exposes the underbelly of the 'Ndrangheta in Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.